presenter, architect Nadine Samaha. The coffee break, today's coffee break, will be about transforming motorways, noise barriers, creating ecological buffers and corridors. Nadine Samaha is an architect established with her partner Level Architecture and Construct 26 years ago to fulfill the need for comprehensive interdisciplinary service that pursue sustainability outcomes in design and construction. As an architect, she understood the sense of place, the integration of biophilic elements, and the implementation of regenerative design in her projects. The practice construction continuum pushes the boundaries in construction techniques and explores new methodologies. From incorporating off-site construction of steel pod modules to CLT and glulam off-site construction, the practice just completed the construction of an autonomous house in series Geelong that achieves net zero emissions and carbon positive. As an ESD lecturer in RMIT, she empowers and equips students with tools and sustainable methods to improve the future of the built environment and to address climate change. As an AIA chapter counselor and member of Research Practice Committee and chair of SAF in collaboration with Architects Declare and the Sustainability Living Festival, she promotes sustainability, regenerative design, beyond zero emissions, and carbon sequestration to architects, academics, and public through the forums and webinars. Now we welcome Nadine Samaha, and I'll leave the floor to her to present her valuable presentation. Please, Nadine, start your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks, Muhammad. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for everyone attending and for listening tonight. I'm just gonna, So this is a presentation of a research project I'm working on with Dr. Jordan Lacey in RMIT University here. I'm going to try to keep the presentation short because it's still really developing and evolving. And I'm really keen to hear as well your input and your feedback. So it is a project still really evolving. We call the project Transforming Motorways, Noise Barriers. And just before I start, as we do here in Australia, Womin Chika, welcome. This is in the indigenous Aboriginal language, which it's not only just about good morning and welcome, it's about whenever you come to somewhere, come with a purpose. So I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodian of the land, the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and community and pay our respects to them, their cultures, and to elders, both past, present, and emerging. So how we came about this project, Dr. Lacey was working in RMIT a few years ago on a project to transform the noise through the noise barrier. He got a grant from Transurban to work on this project, and it was mainly to attend to the residual sound coming from the freeway. In the same time, without knowing Dr. Lacey, I actually came with an idea to use some renewable energy, because all these, you can see all the noise barrier here, they weren't doing anything. Now there's some greenery here, but there was nothing happening before. To use for solar panels, but in the same time to green, I don't know if you can see my screen like that, yeah. To green the noise barrier. Someone put us together in RMIT, we met and we started discussing, and then we came along to ECP, it's the Enabling Capability Platform. They were offering some grants, so we submitted and we got a small grant, and this is how we developed this proposal basically. But this presentation now, it's been, this proposal is evolving. So ECP, it's run by Professor Billy Jill Corti, and she's the director. And they really try to get industry and researcher working together to transform cities to become more sustainable and to address sustainable development goals, obviously. Just to give you a little background, I'm sure everyone in this crowd knows about COP21, and Melbourne is part of the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group as well. And they are committed, because of COP21, to reduce the temperature to 1.5 degree or under 2 degree. However, if you listen sometimes to Professor Tim Flannery here in Melbourne or others, really the outlook is actually quite pessimistic. And I think we are heading probably to 3 degrees here. We're already experiencing this with fires every year around end of January, just around January, February. And I think like all over the world, everyone is experiencing the impact of climate change. So this proposal aims to respond to climate change impact by addressing Melbourne motorways and their effect on the environment. However, even though this was a retrofit on noise barrier in Melbourne, we've had interest now from Queensland as well. So we are talking with as well Transport and Main Roads Authority in Queensland on this. So obviously this is as well very critical to Melbourne because we are a sprawling city, and in recent years we've experienced exponential growth of residents. And really these residents need to be connected. So as you know, the model here as well follow a little bit the American model, where you have the CBD city and then you have all the suburbs and everyone comes to work in the CBD. However, with COVID now, probably these things might change, we'll see. But these really infrastructure have increased really the temperature, the noise and the air pollution, and not only in Victoria, in all over really Australia, basically. And this is how they address here the economy, like recovery to economy is actually paying more money and putting more infrastructure for motorways instead of really spending more money maybe on public transport. But again, COVID have changed the parameters of everything. So just to show you as well, to give you an idea, like this is a city, Monash city ring. And you can see how this is inner suburb as well. I'm not really even showing going out of the suburb. And you can see how we are really, all the suburbs are very close to the freeways. And apart from only the neighborhoods are close, you can see all the parks and all the passes are all close to the freeway, which means if you want to have really a respite from living in the city and from the noise, and you want to go on your bike or to walk somewhere here or go to the park, take your kids, really the noise is sometimes really unbearable. This is someone, we just tried to team up with them, but I'm not sure whether it's going to go ahead yet or not. But Jungle Fire is a company who does, they create a jungle fire breathing wall. They do a lot of greening in Sydney. They're based in New South Wales. They teamed up with Dr. Fraser Torkey in the University of Technology in Sydney. And they developed just on the side here, just for a short span, like a breathing wall. And they've been monitoring it and seeing how much it actually absorbs particulate, how much it absorbs nitrate, CO2, and all this. They were very interested in our project, and we started conversation with them. And I must say, whenever we're meeting with someone, we're always evolving our project based on what we are learning constantly. But yeah, what they've done though, it wasn't addressing as well it was just addressing one issue, and it wasn't really as well addressing the noise or as well renewable energy. So currently, the Melbourne Current motorway noise barrier are basically, because of increased population, we have more infrastructure, it's increasing more air pollution, it's actually they're really vehicle emission carrying harmful chemicals, and it is impacting the health of people. The noise pollution, the same, it's causing sleep disturbance, fatigue, and increased anxiety. The other big problem is increasing heat island effect, which is becoming really major. And especially in Melbourne, we really sometimes even though it's very cold here in winter and most of the year we experience over 40 degrees temperature, and this affects quite a lot the elderly as well. So that's what we're trying basically to address, these three problems. This is an example of the motorways currently. So what's been approved so far, it's always like having a steel structure, vertical steel structure, and some concrete in between. Some of the concrete along the years have been getting a disease and falling, which really create as well a lot of risk, basically risk hazard. And apart from being really very ugly, they're not really doing anything. And concrete does not absorb as well the sound; it actually bounces back the sound. So what we are really proposing is more a transformative approach, and creating, by transforming these noise barriers, is to create ecological buffers, which we can protect local residents and drivers from noise, air pollution, and improve the mental and physical health of well-being. As ecological corridors to encourage more biodiversity, address the heat island effect, and improve livability of the suburb. Talking about ecological corridors, I think you are all aware of the IECN project that was introduced by BYA and the IFLA. It landed actually on our lab in the Institute, and I'm very pleased to say that this project is finally going ahead. We're having next year, and I'll share that with you in July, like a one-day theory and practical knowledge on biodiversity, on introducing ecological corridors, basically. So, and hopefully by addressing these noise barriers this way, we hopefully will get more, will increase biodiversity. We're even doing things as well on a smaller scale. We're changing even our nature script. We're doing like guerrilla gardening as well to encourage more biodiversity. It's becoming a big issue. So what we are really proposing here is basically, it's a structure. It's changing now. You'll see the animation at the end. But the first thing is to address it in the design. So basically having a structure which allows a little bit more of a buffer to put like equipment and things, and to produce more attenuation of the noise from the freeway, and within the design to actually, I mean, of course, you can't have completely like tunnels or anything like that, but even having just a small curve on the top will bounce back again the noise, which you'll see in a minute. And then creating again more rainwater gardens, creating more to collect that water, to get it filtered, and to get it more as well to the park around. So this is really in a nutshell. I'll go probably more in detail in a minute. You can see the real pictures. Some of them, this is how they look. This is actually not bad because there's a little bit of greenery here. And what's really, I find really amazing when you observe noise barrier like this done in concrete, and I wish I could put some pictures here. Most of the time you'll find weeds growing out of the concrete. So eventually nature really found its way. So the idea, this is how it was, and that's what basically we're proposing. Of course, it's an exaggeration, and maybe we don't want something that much. We want something more native as well. And really a good selection of dense vegetation to absorb all these air pollution. This is like what I'm showing as well later on the video. It is an example of in a suburb in a Muni pond. Again, seeing how like you can see the structure and you see the 4 panels of the concrete. And this is again how it should become on, basically this is on the side of the park. So this is on the side of the park before it was on the side of the road. So the first point is reducing air pollution. So in which way we're going to address that? So the first one is with native vegetation. Currently 75% of Melbourne air pollution is caused by vehicle emissions. I must say the silver lining in COVID-19, there was no cars on the roads for a long time, so actually the air became really much cleaner. But of course now all the cars started back on the road, and to address that is actually, it's been proven that, I mean, a lot of research have shown that trees do not produce noise and they do not actually absorb too much of the pollution. where dense vegetation does. Again, the use of renewable energy, specifically solar, to actually power microphones like on the road and on the paths, and the promotion of sustainable development by using material that have minimal marine energy and that conform to circular economy. This is now, circular economy is being very much addressed here in Melbourne, so it's being pushed more and more in policies and in the built environment. This is an example actually from a project in the UK, and that's what I'm probably most keen on, is using like more of a mesh and using a natural medium to grow the plants. There've been someone, University of Melbourne, I've been talking to, they've used biochar, but I'm actually going to be experimenting as well in my garden. I just got some coir and coconut fiber. And this is what they've used here, actually, coconut fiber and a little bit of soil, I think, inside. And this is what's going to absorb quite a lot of the noise, which is going to make it as well less maintenance and create more dense vegetation. So, so by doing as well this structure, this green infrastructure, we create an ecological corridor that will support existing fauna and flora and fosters more biodiversity. And it will, I mean, it will have strong, I mean, that's what the aim as well of design. I think whatever we do, whether we're designing really buildings or we're designing structure like this, it's always to have multifunctional solution, not really looking at things just at just linear thinking of it beyond that, more in a circular way, and thinking of a solution that's more holistic, not just addressing one issue, basically. There have been as well studies that shows that like by doing dense vegetation, it could reduce cut carbon by up to 63%. So renewable energy, so again, the solar panel that we will use, hopefully, we're still doing, of course, research on this, but I'm hoping to use really more flexible solar panels. And basically, this is to light up everything that we need, from microphones, speakers, the LED lights on the roads, on the park. There's a lot of passes along all these noise barrier bikes, bike passes, now scooters. Scooters are becoming very big after COVID-19, and pedestrian as well passes. So, and I'm hoping that by putting the solar panel with time, it will pay for itself for this infrastructure, because all the energy is going to be produced by basically the solar panels. The other item that we're going to look at is sustainable and recycled material, and basically adhering to the 7 key elements of circular economy, understanding the whole life cycle as well. We are trying to explore the work as well of Dr. Veena Sanjwala, who's from the University of New South Wales. She is actually trying to use, she's trying to change the recycling industry with using plastic and rubber in steel production. Actually, we haven't contacted her yet, but it's on the agenda. It's sort of hard sometimes to do all these things while we still don't have didn't really dive in the detailed design. With the noise pollution, this is really very much my partner, Dr. Jordan Lacey. Unfortunately, couldn't join us tonight. It's now actually 8:30 here on Saturday night, and I think everyone, now that we're in tier 3, everyone is out. But basically, Jordan, what he's proposing is actually all the residual noise will be captured by a microphone, protected microphone, and through an algorithm, through a computer, it will change the whole sound. And he's hoping now with augmented, like biophilic sound, it would transform the noise and get out of the speakers in a more pleasant way. They've already tested that. They tested it on few parks before, and they had good feedback as well from residents, which was really quite exciting. Mind you, people sometimes think with transforming the noise, it's going to become less. It actually can go a little bit up by 2 decibels, but it's actually a more pleasant sound that comes out. So yeah, we're looking forward as well how it's going to work with really working with the biophilic sound as well, which should be really quite fascinating. And he says always, you cannot cancel the noise, you can only transform it, which is quite true. So with the noise wall modification, so basically you can see we have a green structure here. This is the original drawing. So now we are proposing something that's a bit more movable, so we can have less maintenance, and I'll go through it with the animation in a minute. But very important to use whether geotextile or the natural medium, again, that the residual sound that comes out is actually a bit less as well and more pleasant to work with. So this is basically on the noise transformation. You can see how basically this will reflect back on the freeway instead of actually coming out from here. This is the plume study, so you can see with the original existing noise barrier how it comes out, where with the new one it will be reduced and it will be blocked by this, and the other sound would come out, which is showing more like here. The third biggest point here is improving livability. So we address the air pollution, we address the noise pollution, and by doing so, it will actually improve the livability. So through the integration of biodiversity, then vegetation, protecting the heat, addressing heat island effect, hopefully this newly transformed noise barrier will provide a more beautifully connected space for the community. I mean, a lot of people think beautification is something very light, but I think it is actually, it's been proven that it's one of the essential key for community development. It's what actually brings people together. And we're hoping with this cleaner and greener space, it will actually address as well health benefits. We're looking as well with teaming up with other academics in RMIT, which we already started actually the conversation, in putting more a quantitative, more research on this to measure this in a more quantitative way. And I mean, apart from the other side of the noise barrier, it's actually to assist as well the driver to find their bearings, to navigate better the motorways. I mean, I find sometimes if you're driving in an area and there is no connection to nature, or there is no point de repère, like Kevin Lynch used to say, you actually lose your bearings and you lose concentration. So hopefully this will help as well the driver in their journey. It will actually reduce their stress. This presentation was done for the Act 4 SDG, which is kindly Lubna attended to as well. And that's why I'm addressing 4 sustainable goals in here, which is affordable and clean energy, obviously, by putting the solar panels. And what's really interesting, the solar power industry alone generated, they say, twice more workplaces than the coal or oil industry combined. And this is according to a study in the UTS, which is University of Technology in Sydney. 75% of construction and installation jobs now dominate the renewable energy labor market. And they're expecting by 2035, as many as half of renewable energy jobs could be ongoing jobs in operation and maintenance. It is a little bit sad that unfortunately our Prime Minister now is going with the gas-led recovery, even though we're very close to achieve, where we need to achieve by going completely renewable. But sometimes I think politics is a bit different. So with industry innovation and infrastructure, so the new retrofit will be a sustainable and resilient infrastructure. It will support economic development and human well-being. It will rely on resource use, efficiency, and adaptation of clean and environmentally sound technology. Really, the innovation is because we're looking at a holistic solution. It will actually produce energy, use cradle-to-cradle modular system, reduce air pollution, transforming noise pollution, and improve livability. Sustainable city, and it goes, hand in hand again. That basically the current noise barrier convey oppressiveness and hostility with local residents, and we can run survey on that and we can prove that very easily, and with drivers as well. So really improving this will actually have a big impact as well on health and on well-being of people. And now health is now recognized as the key to design and operation of sustainable living city. Climate action, I mean, again, we'll be dropping CO2 emission. We need to drop CO2 emission and to address these 2 degrees. And hopefully by proposing this, it will help to reach these temperatures. Even small increases affect the habitat and several species. I mean, it is unfortunate now with what's happening all over the world with all these natural disasters. I mean, we need to act so quickly, but I don't think a lot of people really realize that we have to act really immediately. What was really another thing interesting, I found that actually more than 50% of the world's marsupial species occur only in Australia. And I must say we have a colony of marsupial living in our garden who are the possums. And we're always launching very pacifist wars between us. Anyway, now another thing that always comes with maintenance whenever we speak to authorities is about the long-term maintenance plan. And I mean, this is a way of really looking at the glass of water, whether you see it half empty or half full. So even though it is an issue for authorities, the maintenance can provide opportunities for job creation and input from local environmental groups, which is becoming huge. I mean, I'm part already of 3 local environmental groups, and we are really big in, in advocating for climate change, and we're doing now like garden gorillas, and everywhere in Australia, local environment groups are really huge at the moment. So they will be able to look at the maintenance. So this is a quick animation. So removing quickly the concrete, putting a modular structure in steel, putting the planter box, and this is how you can see you can tilt these panels so you can maintain them from the other side, not from the freeway, and then putting the solar panel and putting the microphone and putting CCTV camera as well to create as well more safety. That's really very important. And in the same time, one issue with noise, if we do have these tilted for the greening, if there's any gap, the noise will always find its way through. And that's why we're suggesting something like VOTI that's come out all the way. I mean, again, this is something we're exploring from our first idea. And this is a video, sorry. I'll press here. Oh, it's gone this way. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. This is my last slide anyway, it's a video. Oops. I'll just press on, yeah, here we go. Yeah. So this is like putting a scenario, a family picking up their child and coming back, and their house is actually next to the noise barrier. And actually, this is really an emulation of an actual building next to this noise barrier that I showed before. And this footage, yeah. The idea that people on the path can pick up as well, like wherever they like. So to have maybe something more edible on the other side. And this sound that you hear here is actually taken from transformation from Dr. Jordan Mason. Yep, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed that. So yeah, I'm open all this to, I just stopped sharing. Yeah. And I'd love to hear your feedback, your questions. Sorry, I want to.
Thank you, Nadine.
Yeah, I was just saying, sorry, I'm interested to hear your feedback and your inputs.
Thank you, Nadine, for this interesting presentation and this wonderful approach for that hits more than one of the Sustainable Development Goals, and it's really interesting. Now we open the floor for discussions from all the participants, and we have the first one raising hands is Amir Bohar. I encourage, before I leave the floor to Amir, give you the floor to give your comment. Now, Amir, please.
Nadine, مساء الخير. A great talk. Thank you very much. I have two comments and a question. I think it's an amazing project and it could be transformational. And the first thing I want to say is I'm happy to see such a project and happy to see you as one of the team members of this, because no one is better than you in this world is able to localize this in the Arab world and trying to have a cross-section that is appropriate to our climates, to our material, to our, whether it's Lebanon, Egypt, and Saudi or whatever. And we're talking about Arab world which has a very different, diverse GDPs. There are countries in the Arab world that can afford this with its cameras and solar panel, etc., and there are countries that cannot. But so the costing is one thing, and the appropriate material and technology is another thing. So I would encourage you to keep experimenting that while keeping in mind the possibility to provide a localized cross-section, which can have a different aesthetics, architecture, material, etc. The second, these are the comments, but the question is, along highways cross states, counties, city boundaries. And I was curious to know more about funding and voting and local authorities' take on that, because what could possibly be viable and accepted and approved in Melbourne or Sydney might not be equally accepted and approved elsewhere until and unless it's a central highway authority decision to implement this as part of the infrastructure of the highway. But I'm sure these highways run across less privileged cities or poorer cities or cities that have citizens with other priorities that could possibly vote in terms of budgeting into other projects that to them can be possibly more important. So if you can give us a little bit on how is that, I'm not going to say universal, but how is that approved or taken or welcomed across Australia as a whole place? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Look, talking about your first comment regarding, I mean, of course, if this has been taken like elsewhere, not in Australia, of course, the greening will have to attend to the indigenous and the native greenery of the local area. And the same with the material, you know. I mean, even we had one interest as well from China. I don't know if you've heard of the Sponge City, where they're doing like more, which we call here more water-sensitive urban design. What's happening now is really so much infrastructure, so much solid concrete infrastructure and asphalting that actually it's creating a lot of pressure on the storm water running through the rivers and running through the sea. So this is as well one item we're trying to look at, but of course it all depends. Yeah, it has to be localized, all these things, but again, addressing the solution as holistic in any local area. Regarding the authorities here, currently in Melbourne, we have Vic Road, it's called now actually Major Vic Road or something. We had a meeting with them and straight away they went to the maintenance, like, you know, like flashing red light. And but when we talked to them, it was before we suggested now the animation. And but we will have another chat with them, and they were actually encouraging us to get like a grant, because here, like the Victorian government provide grant for innovation, and because the universities, unfortunately, currently because of COVID-19, has been cut on a lot of funding. And the same with as well the government. It's been very tough actually economically now here. because we've been really in a very serious lockdown. But apart from the maintenance, and I think the problem as well, because there have been other models done, but based on a lot of plastic with irrigation going through it, which is really need a lot of maintenance. Like there was one example done here in Stonington, in my area, and apparently it was costing $700 per month to maintain. So just for a couple of meters. But again, the way it was done, it was all based on watering, constant irrigation, and with plastic, and not with indigenous as well, native planting. So there's going to be a lot of really studies going with this, but what we're trying to push as well is a prototype. To do a prototype somewhere and, you know, and monitor how it's working and really learning from it. Because something like that, unless you really, it's by trial and error as well, how you're going to be adapting to and how it's going to adapt to a local area. Regarding other authorities, we spoke as well to TMR in Queensland, because we had one resident who read our an article that was that went here in the media, and unfortunately they had they're expanding the freeway in Queensland in one area, and all the corridors, like nature corridors, been gone completely, and it's abutting completely to the, you know, to the fence of people's backyards straight away. There's no even a meter. So, and she's been extremely amazing, like really advocating for our project. And thanks to her, we had a lot of attention from federal and local government, very much supporting the project. So we had a chat a week ago with Transport and Main Roads in Queensland. So their approach is a bit different, because as well they're doing another freeway, and now they are thinking they could incorporate this idea with their project. Because once they can incorporate it in the design phase, then it can go to tender later on. So we're working really on different levels, but in the same time, it's a bit difficult to put all our energy, because I'm a practicing architect as well. And but yeah, hopefully now with COVID, like we're a bit more open now with the restrictions, so hopefully we'll be able to focus more on the project. Hope any of this answer your question. Thank you
very much. Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, we have two questions in the chat area. One of them is from Dr. Abdel Saeed. If he's here, he can present his question himself. Dr. Abdel, seems that he's not here.
Is it, okay, then, what about electrical cars? Is that the question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
there's no sound, which, yes, okay.
Yeah, the first one with the electric cars, we do have Tesla here, but not really that many. But I think the future is going to be as well in, what is it, autonomous cars with no drivers anymore. I think China is running all their taxis in Beijing in the future with no drivers. So yeah, I mean, definitely we need to have more electrical cars, but by the time we get to the electric cars, it's going to be a long way before we get there. And apart from that as well, it's not just about the noise, it's about as well the livability. So that's an interesting question. The buffer zone from trees, like I said, some places there's no even buffer zones. There's no even parks. It's straight away on the backyards, on the fence of the backyards of people. Yeah, what about noise pollution in the airport within the urban range? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure with the airports, but we're actually looking as well with train railways. Someone as well put this forward, and we're looking at that as well. And that could apply as well for railways.
Okay. We have another question from Dr. Magid Youssef. He's here. Please, Dr. Magid, you can present your question. Okay, then I read it. Great idea, but it needs a clear plan for maintenance on the long run, because unfortunately in the Arab world, maintenance is not well treated. So this is a comment.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to comment about this?
Yes, of course. And that's why we are still exploring, if you saw as well in our animation, that's why we're looking at how we can maintain it only from the path side, not from the freeway side. So first of all, it's less risky and safer. And in the same time, the idea as well with the dense vegetation on natural medium shouldn't really need too much maintenance. We have to use some climbers and some weeds. I'm a big fan of weeds, actually. So we have to really, it's all about the choices of the planting. It's all about the vegetation. And it all depends about which area, like Amir said before. You know, what can work here, it's not going to work in Queensland, it's not going to work in Saudi Arabia, it's not going to work in Lebanon or somewhere else. So we have to look at the indigenous planting, of course, and something that's drought resistant and low maintenance. It's doable. I mean, we can see here, like along the river, which is really interesting. Wherever things are not really man-made, they maintain themselves. Whenever it's man-made, sometimes it needs more maintenance. So I think we need to emulate more nature and understand how it's done in nature and try to apply it.
Thank you. There's another question from Rinette. Rinette, you want to present your question or just read it from the chat?
Hi. Hello, Sabah al-Khair. It has been partially answered already. You already have talked about the biomimicry, which will be a great deal of the solution. So, because it's such a challenge with vertical planting, we have tried it as well, and there are so many people who are trying it. So how are you integrating all the experiments worldwide with vertical planting, which work sometimes and very often they don't work. So how are you working together with people who are experts on this area? Or I was interested in that bit, the planting bit.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. You're so right. You're absolutely right on the spot on this. It's really the key in this vertical gardening, but that's why at the same time, I'm looking as well in climbers. So not necessarily just with the vertical gardening, like if we have like these planter boxes on the bottom, we can have like some climbers that actually like just pull down basically. And in the same time, the problem with the vertical gardening so far, what we've seen is more commercialized. It's more, like I said before, using more plastic with irrigation, with more pockets in it, relying more on soil as well, which doesn't work for the long term. I mean, I'm very familiar as well with Patrick Blanc, vertical gardening, who started it in Paris a long time ago. I'm not sure, it's a bit too intense the way it was done before. And yeah, you need quite a lot of maintenance on these things. But we are working with academics as well and people in the field on experimenting. I'm even trying to experiment myself as well here in the garden with different medium. So yeah, we are working on this. This is an issue. I mean, like I said, the project's still evolving. We haven't really yet developed the full detailed design. But yeah, thank you for that. And we're definitely addressing that. Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck. It's really a very interesting project. Indeed, the planting bit looks so beautiful on all the pictures, but it's the hardest to truly work with the changing orientation, and the leaves will get polluted, and the irrigation, but all challenges to overcome if you work with the many experts on this area, I think, worldwide. So I wish you to connect with those.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a question, but I don't have a hand to raise. Maybe it's something regarding being the host. I'd like actually to welcome Nadine again for this. Thank you very much for this very interesting idea and the project. Nadine, I'd like to ask you two questions. The first one is regarding your research project. Have you made something like a prototype or a model and experimented in real? And how was the function related aspects measured by the true model? is it as expected in your research design or not? And the other thing actually is kind of putting myself in the car, not in the pedestrian lanes actually, or the pedestrian corridors, because part of your design, this curvy part, is reflecting the noise inside. So I was wondering, actually, one of the worst experience for a car rider is when we are passing inside a tunnel, because actually this curvy tunnel is reflecting the noise over us. So you have this, it's a bad noise effect inside. Have you measured this or take it in your consideration? For the first time, I'm putting myself in the car shoe.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You're absolutely right. Now, answering your first question first regarding the prototype. That because really this research is not, it's based on really, it's building up on Dr. Lacey's research on transforming the noise, and it's a proposal really at this stage. So we haven't really dug deep yet. It's just really still a proposal. Doing a prototype, that's what we're hoping, is to get actually some funding so we can do a prototype. But we are, like Dr. Lacey already actually experimented like the noise transformation. So that was done in 2 locations here in Melbourne, and we got feedback from the residents. So that's working good. He's hoping to build up more on it, on the biophilic sound. In regarding of the vegetation, we know that Jungle Fire already have done that in New South Wales, and we've been already in collaboration with them. And we've known as well how it's been working on absorbing actually the air pollution. But yeah, I'm going to actually be experimenting on this myself, like I said before, in my garden. But we are going to be working as well more with people more qualified than I am in planting and work on this. In regard of putting yourself in the car, so it's not going to be totally closed, as you know, and because we're going to have greenery on both sides, and it's going to be on a medium that's going to absorb more the sound. So first of all, the sound that hits, really, most of the time the sounds go up like this. So the first sound that comes like to the highest before it goes to the curb is going to be absorbed, which now currently with the concrete, it bounces back. Where with the other one on the curb, yes, it will come back, but it will be reduced at least. So it would be an improvement. But again, like I said, we do need really to move now to the second step, detailed design, and actually do a prototype. So yeah, I'll keep you in the loop how we go with this.
Hopefully your coming, inshallah, presentation with us will be after the prototype phase, inshallah.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Lubna.
You are welcome.
We have a question from Dr. Afaf Badran. Please, Dr. Afaf.
Hello.
Ask your question.
أتكلم عربي ولا إنجليزي؟ أهلا وسهلا وشكرا جزيلا، وبعتذر على إني ما حضرتش من الأول، بس من الجزء اللي أنا حضرته اسمحوا لي بس هسأل سؤال بسيط جدا، وهو خطر ليا من إن مثلا بلد زي مصر بتعاني دلوقتي من قلة المياه، خاصة مع بناء سد النهضة، وهيبقى صعب. احنا بنشوف الشجر اللي موجود أصلا في الشوارع يعني للأسف بيكسروه بينهوا حياته. فأنا بس متخيلة هل في يا ترى، مع إن الفكر طبعا الاجتهاد دايما والإنوفيشن والكرياتيفيتي حاجة رائعة ومرحب بيها، بس هل في alternatives لأن ممكن نعمل حاجة مماثلة بس ما تكونش بتحتاج لمية غزيرة؟ ده one aspect of the question. The other aspect هي هنرجع تاني لنفس النقطة اللي ذكرتها دكتورة لبنى، اللي هي لو أنا في العربية مش هتكلم بقى على النويز، هتكلم على إن part of the experience اللي إحنا بنفوت فيه وإحنا في العربية، إن إحنا بنبص على architecture. إحنا بالطريقة دي بقينا يعني وإحنا حتى داخل العربية مفيش فرصة إن إحنا نبص على السينري، لا لاند ماركس ولا architecture. أنا عارفة إن الحيطة ليها حدود معينة، إحنا هنشوف الاركيتكتشر لو هي هاي رايز، بس other than that هنبقى محرومين منها واحنا في العربية. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Afaf. Look, in regarding again for maintenance and irrigation, we'll have to allow some drip irrigation. Drip irrigation, as you know, it comes to the source straight away of the plant, and basically it doesn't need much water. But again, we should be doing something that needs maintenance maybe only in the first few months. Once it takes off, it's only maintenance about like cutting and maybe now and then checking it. So that's what actually the aim is going to be. I mean, no matter what we do in life anyway, it needs maintenance. I mean, even the concrete that they put between these steel posts, I mean, within a few years, they got the disease and they started falling and now they're replacing them. I mean, no matter what we do, it's going to need maintenance. So, but yeah, the idea is actually to try to look at something that needs the minimum possible maintenance. And like I said, again, I was trying to find a picture of Garnes Creek here on the river, how really like nature basically on like a sheer next to the river, it actually just maintains itself. There's really no one who's watering it, no one who's, you know, doing anything. But again, like something like a country like Egypt, obviously you don't get maybe the rainwater that we get here. It's probably warmer. So it's again, emulating something that close by in Egypt, that you know, planting in Egypt, you know, like how it is. I don't know, next to the Nile, let's say, what grows there naturally and doesn't need too much maintenance. So looking at the indigenous planting there, but again, driving. Yeah, I know sometimes in the Middle East and the Arab world as well, it's not like you drive most of the time, you see buildings all on, you know, on both sides. I mean, I can't talk about there because I haven't been now for a while, but I mean, talking about this is really addressing issues that we have currently here in Australia, and how the build of the, you know, like of the suburbs are so close to the freeway. But it will have reduced stress as well, having greening on you know, on the side of the freeways. And it's important to look at the stormwater. I mean, that's a huge issue. I mean, floods are huge issues as well. I mean, that's again what we experience here. So yeah, we have to look at each one in its local area. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay, I have a question or some comments. Questions. The first one is about a technique I just saw a short video about using the wind that resulting from moving cars to generate power. So I mean, this is an alternative way other than putting solar panels on the battery coming from the moving cars. It's
Mohammed, you're breaking up quite a bit. But I think what I got
is about noise reduction material.
محمد النتورك عندك بتروح وتيجي فاحنا سامعين الكلام متقطع.
But if I'm understanding Muhammad's question, he's asking if we use wind instead of solar panel, or maybe wind to break the sound. I wasn't too sure. I couldn't hear.
No, a multi approach that hits in multiple aspects. One of them is generating on the barrier so that it generates power. So I'm proposing another way to generate power by using the moving cars, the wind coming from the moving cars to like run small turbines put on the sides of the way so that you can generate power as well in this way.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I don't know how it works, but I think it's a great idea.
The first comment. The second, the design of the barrier itself. I mean, yes, you used materials, very good materials in absorbing the sound. But what about the design of the barrier itself? Should it have a certain design to not only absorb but to I don't know, تشتت الصوت يعني بالعربي.
To what?
So I don't know. تشتيت الأصوات بدل ما يعني مش بس الامتصاص الصوت، لا تشتيت الصوت كمان. وده تكنيك ممكن بيستخدم عن طريق شكل البارير نفسه، مش بس عن طريق الماتيريال المستخدمة في البارير.
Yeah, that's what the transformation
فدي برضو ده. Number 3 is about the plastic. You said that you're using recycled plastic. Okay, what type of plastic are you using, and what are the procedure of recycling? I mean, do you go to for example, garbage collectors that make the recycling, or you go through more sophisticated methods for separating the different kinds of plastics and so that you can find more, I mean, more pure types of plastic. And what about the approvals? As I understood, you use it for some sort of building material. It is a building material. What about the approvals? Is it approved as a building material or not? Or what kind of additives you can add to the plastic so that you can use it as a building material?
Okay, Muhammad, regarding your first question with the wind moving from a moving car, I think it's a great idea, but I don't know how this will work. I mean, the reason we went for solar panels, we thought it would be easier to do. I mean, like what we know here with wind turbines are really huge. I don't know the technology behind. If we can get the wind from the moving cars, I have no idea. I can't really comment on this. The second one is, sorry, what was the second one? Regarding the, it's not only about accumulating the sound with the material, it's about transforming the sound. So what Dr. Lacey have actually developed, it's more like with an algorithm that goes in a computer and then it transforms the sound. And there's a lot of actually sound designers who do all that. So that's been experimented and we know it works. In regard of regarding the plastic in the steel, so we haven't explored that yet with this researcher in New South Wales. But what we are going to try to do is the material that we're going to be using have to be adhering to basically the 7 principles of circular economy. So if we're going to be using, let's say, for an example, steel, it has to come from recycled steel. But we are exploring how this research in New South Wales is using plastic to, like reusable plastic, basically, recycling plastic in steel. I'm not sure yet as well. We didn't explore it yet fully. I hope this answered your question, comments, and your comments. It was hard to give everything.
My question, and actually, I'll give you the reason about this question, behind this question, because I'm making some research and some work regarding how to produce building materials out of recycled plastic.
Okay. Well,
so that,
if you want
with putting some additions, yes.
Yeah.
So
if
that
you want
I wanted to know more about if you have
Yeah. If you want to email me, I can, once we've spoken to that researcher, then I can actually, I can share with you more information. Can you see my screen quickly? Can you share my screen?
Yes. Yes, we
Yeah,
can
so
see. Yeah.
Yes, it is
yeah.
shared.
So you can see this is
It is shared
called
now.
Gardens Creek. This continue like it's a small creek here, like not very far. And you can see this is all completely wild. I mean, of course, it's a lot of it weeds, but you can see no one really attend to any of this. There is no management, there's no maintenance to here. So really what I really feel sometimes it's emulating how this work and seeing how to apply this in our work. In what we are proposing. And I understand, like with Renee's as well comment regarding the vertical gardening, because yeah, currently vertical gardening is very much commercialized and yeah, it's very high maintenance. So it's really looking at ways how to do it with less maintenance.
Thank you, Nadine.
Pleasure.
Does anyone have any other question?
Mohammed, we have here with us Dr. Amal Deberki, and Dr. Amal is a professor of environmental architecture, and actually I'd like to ask her to give us her feedback or comment. Dr. Amal.
أهلا يا لبنى. شكرا يا نادين على شكرا على العرض يا نادين، والابتكار بتاعك جميل طبعا. طبعا يا لبنى انت حاسه بيا فعلا، يعني هو دايما مواد العزل فيها مشكله الحقيقه، سواء في انبعاثاتها مع تعرضها للحراره او في طريقه تصنيعها، لان انا اعتقد ان الكونتنتس بتاعه الحيطه بتاعه نادين ممكن يكون لها يعني تاثير سلبي على البيئه، وخصوصا ان احنا بنتكلم على الاستدامه يعني. فانا مش عارفه الكونتنتس بتاعتها ايه الحقيقه، لكن حتى لو كان في نباتات هتحسن الجو، لكن المواد دي ليها انبعاثات غير CO2 يعني، فمش عارفه هيتعاملوا مع ده ازاي.
So what do you mean it has CO2, or what do you mean by that?
هي الانبعاثات اللي بتحصل من مواد العزل مع تعرضها للحراره دي محدش لسه اختبرها، لانها كلها صناعات حديثه يعني. فده اللي احنا بنقول عليه انها بتبقى دايما تحت الاختبار، يعني ما نقدرش نجزم انها هتكون صديقه لمدينه مستدامه يعني.
But that's why we need to do the prototype. That's why we need to detail the design and do the prototype and see how it's going to go. But that's why as well what I'm going to try to experiment, like I said before, is with coir and coconut fiber. So these are really quite natural products. And I think if you've seen in my presentation before, it's been done in the UK. I'll just put it back again here. Where is that? Yeah. This one, can you see this? So this is really like, you can see this is probably a much more lower maintenance green wall. I mean, you can have a look. I mean, probably I can share with you the slide if you want to look later on. And like it's called EcoSound Block Noise Barrier Earth Bund. But this one they use actually Earth Bund, where here we can't really do too much big Earth Bund. But definitely it's all about the medium and what are the native plants that we're going to be using and how this will address the air pollution. So stay tuned, hopefully, with the prototype.
شكرا نادين، شكرا حبيبتي.
Okay, thank you. But thanks for your comment. I mean, I'd be really interested if there's any research or anyone who's really more knowledgeable on planting vertical gardening to share with me as well more information.
اتفضلي دكتور أمال، اتفضلي.
ايوه حبيبتي، يعني فعلا انا عندي طالب يعني باحثه يعني، بس كانت بتتكلم على الحراره الثيرمال كومفورت يعني في الاودور. يعني بعيده شويه عن الموضوع.
Yeah, but it is important. It has to be addressed as well. So yeah, we need to address it, of course, but that's the whole idea, to actually address heat island effect, and by having greenery, it will reduce heat island effect. Is that what you mean, Aman?
عادي النت متقطع، معلش مش عارفه عندي مشكله في النت. سؤالك تاني نادين معلش.
Yeah, of course.
يعني قولوا لي بس بالعربي عشان لو لقطت نصه اقدر افهمه يعني.
سوري سوري، بديك احكي بالعربي؟
يعني انا عندي بس النت بتروح وبتيجي لان تقريبا الباقه هتتجدد بكره، فمش عايزين يجددوها لي النهارده يعني.
سوري ما فهمت.
مشاكل نت بقى معلش.
مشاكل انترنت. سوري. سوري بدك جاوبك بالعربي، ما فهمت انا. مش عارفه.
Nadine, Dr. Amel missed your question and she's saying because her internet is not stable, it's better that you speak in Arabic so she can guess what she's missing.
Okay, all right, okay. So شو كنت عم بحكي؟ كنت عم بقول انه صعب علي شو مرات بالعربي سوري. انه الخضار هو اللي بده يحمي من الحراره، بس اكيد بدنا نطلع انه اي خضار لازم نحط حسب المنطقه. لازم يكون الخضار من المنطقه، يعني موجود بالمنطقه indigenous، ما بعرف شو بيقولوا indigenous بالعربي.
local plants you mean؟ يعني نباتات المحليه.
نباتات exactly thank you. النباتات المحليه. بس مش بس هي النباتات، هي شو الميديوم اللي بدنا نستعمله يلي هو كمان بخفف الحراره، ويلي هو بيقدر يكون ما بده كثير اعتناء، لانه المشكله اكثر شيء على طول الكل العالم على طول بيقولوا عنها هي الاعتناء، انه المينتننس. هيدا اكثر شيء اللي عم نطلع فيه، ومشان هيك عم نجرب نعمل مثل نعمر مثل اكزامبل، نعمر يعني شيء لنشوف كيف بدنا نظبطه ليمشي. ما بعرف اذا sorry I mean I speak Arabic very well but I don't know, I find it hard sometimes to express these things in Arabic.
الكلام واضح.
لا واضح. أشكرك يا نادين.
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Amal. I mean, really, English as well is my third language, but gosh, I've been here for 31 years, so now I actually think as well in English. It's a bit hard.
شكرا حبيبتي، شكرا.
Sorry about that.
نادين، أنا عندي سؤال أو عندي الحقيقة تعليق على بعد إذن محمد يعني على المداخلة بتاعت الدكتورة أمال، لأنه فعلا يعني وأنتي بتتكلمي أنتي بتفتحي لنا أفكار كتيرة، زي مثلا إنه بدل ما تستخدمي composite materials أنتي قلتي هتستخدمي natural materials زي الكوكونات actually. فأنا كنت هسألك إذا كان ممكن كمان تشوفي في التسليح عن طريق البامبو، لأنه ده اتعمل فيه أبحاث واتطبق already في الفار إيست. بس انت بتقولي انك لازم تستخدمي، هو طبعا معروف يعني ان it's better to use local materials او local plantations، فبس ممكن تعملي التست بتاعك على البامبو لو عندك وعلى الحاجات اللي زيه، لان هو دلوقتي بيستخدم كمادة انشاء ومادة تسليح كمان، وده already خلاص used في الفار ايست يعني. دي اول حاجة عايزة اقولها. اتفضلي.
Sorry, Lubna, on this, are you meaning عم بتقولي بامبو trees ولا بامبو فايبر؟
البامبو الفايبرز اللي طالعه من التريز نفسها بيستخدموها كماده بناء، والستيك نفسها بيستخدموها كماده تسليح، يعني هو بيستخدم بطريقتين، وده اوريدي مستخدم كده في الفار ايست بقاله فتره طويله، ودخل في الانشاءات الحديثه كمان، يعني الموضوع عندهم محسوم خلاص. فهل ده ممكن تطبيقه عندك، ولا عشان هو مش، ما انا ما اعرفش هو نبات محلي في استراليا ولا لا، ما عنديش فكره.
Bamboo is not native here, but again, coconut as well is not. I mean, mind you, they grow more coconut than bamboo. There is bamboo that is more for decorative, not for like something. But again, we're not very far from Asia, from Far East Asia. I don't know, actually, I'll be interested if you can share this with me. I can look at it. I mean, another thing as well, like I said, I spoke to someone in Melbourne University on biochar. Biochar is false, basically. And he said sometimes it's not good to use natural product. It's better to use inorganic product. So again, this is something we're still exploring. I mean, I'm going to experiment with the coir and the coconut fiber, because I already got that and I already got the mesh in my garden, and that's what I'm going to be doing next. But I'm happy to explore and experiment with something else. You know, the other thing as well is hemp. You know, hemp يعني مثل الماريجوانا. لأنه hemp هلا هون صار legal بنيو ساوث بكوينزلاند. So when hemp بيستعملوه كمان بالكونكريت, and it makes it more بتصير تحطي أقل Portland cement in the concrete, which is great. They use the husk of it. Or the other leaves, they use it for medicinal use. We can explore the hemp as well. I don't know.
احنا ويكند الصراحه. عشان نبقى صراحه معاكي، احنا لو بنتكلم على ان احنا to apply the same idea in the Middle East، ما اعرفش دوله الحقيقه تسمح باستخدام اي حاجه ليها علاقه بالماريجوانا. لا يعني احلفي بقى لبكره ان هي construction it is not approved طبعا. Thank you very much, Nadine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But please share with me the bamboo. I love.
I don't have a specific actually work on it, but I kind of reviewed two research, like one 3 years ago and one 2 years ago, about using applications of bamboo in construction in Far East. So I know this is for them is something common. يعني زي استخدام الخشب عندنا بالذات في ماليزيا، بالذات في ماليزيا والاماكن دي.
Yeah, they even use it for scaffolding.
لو سمحتي لي يا لبنى.
اتفضلي يا دكتور امير، اتفضلي يا فندم.
هو طبعا البامبو هيبقى فعال فعلا جدا لان هو لحائي، يعني اللحاء الداخلي بتاعه اجوف، فهيكون عازل فعلا سواء حراري او صوتي. يعني هو الفكره بقى في تركيبه في بعضه، بس هي كماده مش موجوده، يعني مش موجوده عندنا في الصحراء الكبرى اللي احنا عايشين فيها، يعني ممكن تبقى موجوده في المنطقه الاستوائيه. فانا برضو برشح لنادين تحاول تستخدم الجريد في التجارب بتاعتها، يعني لان الجريد وفير يعني داخل عندنا الحمد لله. فيعني كلها مقترحات يا ريت فعلا نادين تحطها في اعتبارها.
سوري شو هي ما فهمت. سوري دكتور امال، شو الكريد؟ سوري what's that؟
يعني just consider the greed النخيل, the palm tree.
Palm tree. Oh yes. Yeah, I mean again here it's not native, but definitely the مصر أكيد واحد we should look at that definitely. I agree with that. That could work really well as well. But again, we need to explore this a little bit more further. Maybe each country should experiment with their local natives and see what can work. And Muhammad, please, if you can share as well with me regarding the, I like this idea of the wind from moving cars. I know now something in Denmark they're doing with the bicycles. Once you park your bicycle, you can get all this energy to go in the grid. So, I mean, there's a lot of experiments and a lot of innovation going on in the world. It would be good, like, to tap and really understand and incorporate these things in this project.
Yes, I tried to find the video and send it to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Muhammad. I appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and thank you, Nadine, for this very interesting presentation and lecture. And it was really informative and has lots of new ideas, and it was very interesting. And thank you, everybody, for your interesting discussion and presence. And we wish to welcome you again in our next coffees. I think we don't have we don't have any other questions or discussions, so we can conclude like this. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for
thank you,
having me.
Nadine. Thank you, everybody.
شكرا نادين، نورتينا من ملبورن، وتصبحي على خير عندك، صح؟ احنا كده سهرناكي.
Before you leave, yes, before you leave, I want to announce that this session is recorded and it will be available on YouTube within a few days.
Few hours يا محمد. Few hours, days ليه؟ ان شاء الله in few hours هتبقى uploaded على اليوتيوب channel for AMAKEN بإذن الله.
إن شاء الله بإذن الله. شكرا لكم جميعا ونورتونا. شكرا.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.